Since we record our post-match podcast in the darkness out the back of the stand at the Gabba, I thought I'd give you just a glimpse of Brisbane's sunshine and heat and beauty. It's a stunning city, actually. So I just thought I'd give you a little glimpse of that before the cold reality of the Gabatoir. Hello, welcome to the Analyst at the Ashes with me, Simon Hughes.
And I'm Simon Mann.
Have England been almost entirely consumed by the Gabatoir? They are 44 runs behind Australia, but they have only 4 wickets left. It feels like it has been a real roasting on the Brisbane barbecue today. You don't really want to hear the Betfair odds, do you?
Are they 100 naught?
They are nearly 100 naught, actually. At the start of play, it was Australia 79% and England 17%. By now, with 2 days of the game still to go, 98% Australia, 1% England, 1% the draw. Have you seen the forecast? Any rain on the horizon?
Well, there's a possibility of some rain tomorrow afternoon. I'm not sure the game's still going to be going. Is it tomorrow evening? If there is some rain around, it's going to be hot tomorrow. 32 degrees, the hottest day of the match so far. Normally when it gets hot in Brisbane, it builds up and we might get some rain, but I'm not sure England are going to make it last that long. Have we got any semblance of optimism as far as England's cause is concerned? The only thing I would say is that an England team has won from this position in the past. In fact, a worse position than this. And of course, it was the miracle of heading in 1981. They were about 90 behind. They had 3 wickets left. Here, they're 40 behind with 4 wickets left. They have got 2 batters at the crease, Ben Stokes and Will Jacks. When they started off, England, I thought they needed to set Australia something like 230 to be in the game on a pitch that does show just signs of some uneven banks. There's some cracks in it. So yeah, I think the feeling was there is a bit of, it could be a trouble if you're batting last, but only if you're batting last, if you need 200 plus or so to win, 250 to win, not if you're going to need 27 to win. Or it could even be an innings defeat if Australia go really well in the morning. The die is cast. I felt for quite a long time in this game, I felt before the game it was going to be 2-0. You castigated me for saying not having any optimism, but it is Australia at home, it's the Gabatoir, it's the pink ball, Australia know it so well, and my goodness, they played it well as well, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. It has been, a real kind of study in discipline, hasn't it? Particularly from not only the bowlers, but also the bowlers with the bat as well. The fact they lasted the Australian innings today until 6 p.m. local time, so pretty much 2 sessions of batting almost for the last 4 wickets, which is really impressive from guys that you wouldn't assume could bat normally. And every player in the Australian team got double figures, which I think was the first time. It's not a total rarity that now, because tail-enders are much better batters than they used to be, but certainly the first time that's happened for a few years. And it just indicates 2 things. 1, that the pitch was pretty good. 2, that they are dedicated with bat and ball, the likes of Michael Neser and Scott Boland and people like that, who have no pretensions as a batsman.
Well, Neser does, but Boland doesn't really.
But in Test cricket, they're not established batters, are they? They're tail-enders, basically. And also, I suppose, it also says that the England bowlers were tired by then. They've been worn down by the relentless sun, the pursuit of wickets, the dedication of the Australian batters higher up the order, and actually also this kind of absurd leg theory tactics, which is just exhausting. It's exhausting to watch, never mind to actually bowl. The main protagonist of that is Bryden Carse. He kept going admirably, but my God, it takes it out of you. Bowling ball after ball, whacked in halfway down the wicket, flying through head high. And as we said yesterday, taking 2 forms of dismissal completely out of the equation, bowled and LBW. Don't understand it. One of the worst things about this experience, coming to the Ashes and seeing England performing badly, is you just get vehement abuse almost, ridicule from the legion of commentators, Australian commentators, ex-Australian players, populating the various commentary boxes. You're working with 1 or 2 yourself. Just laugh at us, really, because we're clearly bereft of any plan, so we resort to bowling head high so the batsman can't reach it. Great.
I feel as though England have been worn down from the first day, actually. we did pose that question, didn't we, in the first day? What was 325 worth on that first day? And my sense was that it wasn't enough. It wasn't ruthless enough. I think that's one of the key things about Australia in this match is they have been really ruthless. And you've got to really admire that. And actually, when you come here, and I've come here a lot, and I've seen a lot of Test matches here, and that's the feature. They're at you. They're hard. They don't give you very much, and you cannot afford to give them anything. And I think England have done that in this game, and Australia have exploited it, and they've exploited it magnificently. And if England are not careful here, I mean, this could sort of spiral out of control, because they are under severe pressure now in this series. 2-0 down. They were not expecting this, were they? When they came here, I think they thought they had a chance. They knew it was going to be tough, but I think sort of deep down they had that belief they could do something in this series. 5 days into the series, and that's like totally unravelled, isn't it? It's gone.
Bazball is broken, in my view. I was so hopeful at the start of the day, actually. I thought England would be able to eliminate those last 4 Australian wickets. They had a new ball available in the first 6 overs, or after 6 overs play, but actually they played really well, didn't they? Michael Neser and Mitchell Starc. The bowling was actually decent. I thought England, actually were quite accurate. They hadn't been really yesterday so much on the second day. What I'd call cafeteria bowling in the first bit of Australia's batting, help yourself. It gradually got a bit better, then they went to the bouncer ploy for a while, and Australia just wore them down. And so although they tried gamely this morning, the bowlers, Archer bowled well, there was some good deliveries bowled, Atkinson was okay, they just couldn't get the wickets. And it was interesting that every time they bowled on a length, on a round off stump, there was uncertainty from the batsman and playing and missing. But Starc, got into his shot making and hit a couple of boundaries to get the lead past 100, and then it just kept on going. And other batters who, people like Brendan Doggett, who, hasn't got a decent first-class average at all, still managed to cobble together a few runs and stay there and just drain England's resources and their energy and their ambition.
Cricket is such a psychological. Cricket is such a psychological game, isn't it? When you're ahead, you can just chip away at the opposition, and it can be so difficult to drag it back. And I thought that's what Australia did so well. How can England lose 6 wickets, late in the day's play on that pitch that Starc and Doggett and Neser and Boland had sort of resisted England on? Sometimes it is about the state of the game, and Australia had earned their position this morning by what they've done on the first 2 days. And I think Australia's effort on the first day is kind of underrated. As I said, I thought 325 just felt a bit skinny, and they were in the game, and then they made it count on that second day. So when they came out this morning, they were just psychologically ahead of England, and they're just advancing forward bit by bit by bit. And that allows Starc to play in that way, and it's frustrating. There was a point where Ben Stokes bowled really well. He had no luck, and there was an inside edge off Boland that went just past the stumps. And I think if you're an England supporter, you tend to think, well, if that was England batting out there, that would have gone into the stumps. But it went inside edge for 4, and you could see Stokes getting frustrated. You could see the outside edge just dropping short of Harry Brook, like outside edge going down to the deep third boundary or whatever, play and miss, and you could just see that sense of frustration, and Australia were able to play on it, and it's a wonderful position to be in. It's almost you're almost kind of torturing the opposition, and that's why, in a way, Test cricket it can be so brutal, and I think that's what we saw today. Australia were utterly brutal with England, just saying, right, this is our strategy, we're sticking to it. What have you got? What have you got to change it? And England, they picked up a couple of early wickets, but they just didn't have enough. They as you say, they were drained, and it goes back to my feeling that England have actually picked the wrong team for this Test match. They would have been so much better off with 5 seamers to give that that all-round support. It's a point I made before the game. It's a point I've made during the game. It's a point that
We're going to carry on making
again
for the rest of the few days, yeah. And actually, we've had a couple of responses on YouTube on this kind of topic, actually, talking about, say, Surrey, for instance, investing in 5 seamers and sticking to that ploy, and some good comments. So please keep those comments coming on YouTube. We do read them, and we will we'll respond to them, or I'll try to at some point. I mean, just one other thing on that, on the sort of Australian ruthlessness as well. They're great observers of body language, and they pay a lot of attention to that, actually, and a lot of importance to it. I mean, Shane Warne was big on that, wasn't he? And others, Glenn McGrath, of course, begrudging a batsman every run and growling at them when they manage to get a quick single or play and miss or whatever. And I don't think England's body language is good enough. Stokes is fantastic. You can't fault him. But some of the other bowlers, it just looks a little bit, they show their disappointment. They drop their heads, their heads sort of drop into their knees a bit. Gus Atkinson, Jofra Archer. It's difficult to sort of be too harsh on them because they're trying their best, I know. But body language is really important. I remember when I was a bowler, I kind of, I gave up too easily, and sort of my shoulders sagged after the 15th boundary off my bowling. And it does give a message to the batsman of confidence and, kind of reassurance to the batsman and actually invigorates them. And Australians are very good at spotting that, and they're very good at, maintaining. When Stark gets hit for a boundary, he just laughs, doesn't he? He goes, well, you won't get many of those, mate, in his head. And, it's kind of unsettling for the batter, isn't it? Scott Bolden, when he bowls a ball and, whistles past the edge, he sort of just goes back and he's going to bowl another one kind of thing. And he doesn't get they don't get flustered, they don't get put off, they don't get deflated too easily. Maybe England's tactics were to try and be aggressive at them and knock them off their stride, but it's not an easy thing to do.
No, and they wear you down fantastically well. England came with this enthusiasm, optimism, and it's not lasted very long. And you just sense in that dressing room. I mean, they wouldn't be human if they were thinking this wasn't supposed to happen. How has it happened so quickly? I think probably England supporters feeling that as well. That they would have come with a sense of optimism for this series, but at the moment it looks like same old, and I don't know whether England got it within them necessarily to change the course of the series. I mean, Glenn McGrath's predicted 5-0. He always predicts 5-0. Of course, but
he's weighted to the security of 1.5-0.
No. He's predicted 5-0 before the start of the series because he always does. But the point being, I mean, are we in the situation now where it could be? I mean, it probably seemed inconceivable at the start. I mean, you could definitely see Australia winning, but could they go on and just completely rout England? I
actually don't think so. I think this England side have got some very good cricketers. They just need to play smarter cricket and a bit more resourceful and a bit more patient. Patience seems to have just gone out the window. And the sort of attention deficit disorder seems to be prevalent amongst the team, both batters and bowlers. They're not concentrating hard enough. They're not thinking smartly about what a bowler's trying to do, who is the biggest threat. Hopefully they will learn that. But, it's taking a bit of time. But I don't think that they won't learn it before the end of the series. I think things will gradually sink in, and I think they will play a better brand of cricket going forwards because of the kind of harsh lessons they've learned here.
Yeah, I mean, what you could say is that they were on that fast bouncy pitch at Perth, and they were sort of routed suddenly by Travis Head, and then wouldn't you know it, the second test is Brisbane pink ball, which and they just have so little preparation, experience of playing pink ball cricket. 3 players who've never played a pink ball match. Australia play a reasonable amount of it. They played a test match in the West Indies. They play a regular game at home. England don't. It's erratic, isn't it? And it was noticeable, I think, in that final session under the lights. Australia just able to put the pressure on. They had them right where they wanted them. And last night England were able to do that to Australia. It's not easy under the lights against the pink ball. Difference was, I suppose, that England dropped all those catches last night. They did pick up wickets under the lights. They weren't able to make it count. And so an all-round game, England haven't batted well enough, haven't bowled well enough, haven't caught well enough. And Australia have done...
You sound like Martin Johnson. They've only got 3 problems. They haven't come back, they can't bowl, they can't field. Listen, just as a sort of counter view, I thought it would be interesting to get an Australian perspective on this. And it's not going to be all absolute slagging off, actually, because Matt Hayden, of course, a great Australian cricketer of the past, has been doing a bit of work for TNT Sports, who, of course, have the rights to this series. And I've told you before, you can get TNT on EE, Virgin Media or Sky, also on Discovery Plus as well, but of course you do need a subscription. But Matt Hayden, I thought he would be quite vitriolic about England's bowling, partly because he dominated them himself in the past, but also because he knows the Gabba very well. And I heard him on commentary saying, they've got to bowl fuller, they've got to aim at the stumps. He wasn't quite as critical as I thought he would be. Here's his comments about England's bowling.
I think England's bowling was pretty good in patches. The trouble is, you've got to nail the new ball. That didn't happen. Came back pretty hard after that little break they had, started to get it right, but they couldn't sustain pressure. And the one thing I cannot understand is why they didn't bowl a lot more of Jakes. To me, a spinner on this wicket, and we've been saying it here about Nathan Lyon as well, it's such a handy thing. You can see the 20 overs that maybe cast bowled, you could at least have 10 of those from Jakes, and who knows, it could have brought the downfall, especially the tail enders who are probably going to have a go. So a couple of tactical errors, and just in general, they had a very good short ball plan, but as a full bowling plan, that was non-existent.
I mean, it's just to pick up on that quickly. Today, Australia's bowling, all 4 wickets that have fallen so far have been full length, either hitting the stumps or you've caught them bowls. So basically a line and length. I don't felt England really sustained that for long enough.
And look, I don't think Australia did with the new ball either. The new ball went for 7 and over, but then after their break, they came back and went, right, we're going to have sustained pressure of bowling back, fuller than back of the length, and we're going to bowl one side of the wicket. Once you start doing that, from both ends, you're under pressure as a batter. Look, the one thing you want to do here as a batsman is score off your legs. As soon as the ball is straight here, because it's so true to bounce, you can generally get up and get amongst it. So, a bit of thinking to do for the English bowlers.
Might be too late. I don't really agree with Matt Hayden about England's bouncers, the leg theory thing. I think it's one-dimensional. And interestingly, I was chatting to Mark Taylor about this, the former Australian captain, and he thinks it's bad for the game as well, bad for Test cricket, where you have all the fielders set back on both sides of the wicket, and the bowlers just bowling short balls every ball through here. And there's only a few shots that you can play backward behind the square, obviously, or just leave it lots of times. And he thinks it's boring cricket as much as it is one-dimensional, and it will turn people off. And I do sort of see that, actually. It takes away the unpredictability, in a way, of the game. It just becomes a bit sort of relentless. So I don't like it at all. But Haydos seems to not mind it.
Yeah. Well, go back to the 1930s. We weren't alive there a long, long time ago. Of course, it sparked a massive controversy, didn't it? That short ball theory with fielders closer on the leg side. I mean, they have changed the laws to stop them, all being behind square. But it's kind of a similar idea, isn't it? But everything goes now. I mean, helmets have changed things. So anything goes now. I mean, there are the restrictions about, over shoulder height and below the head, per over, just 2 balls that you can bowl in that area. But if you get it right, you can get it below the shoulder, you get in at the chest, can't you? So then that's what they practice for, that's what they aim for. And they try to discomfort the batter that way. I also think, England, when England bat against it, they seem to just take it on and get caught on the boundary. Australia just played it more cannily, didn't they?
And except Smith, of course, who was brilliantly caught by Will Jacks. So look, let's talk about England's batting. Now, it wasn't an irony, I don't think, that Australia were bowled out on the stroke of 6 o'clock, just as the sun was setting and the lights were coming on, and soon darkness had descended on England's Ashes hopes with those wickets falling. Some pretty poor shots, actually. I mean, Ben Duckett got a good ball. It skated through low.
You can't do much about that, I don't think.
You can't do much about that. He got off the pair, thank goodness for him. But then, he played a few nice shots, but then he got one that skated through low and went off the bottom of the bat onto the stumps. A bit unlucky. It can happen on the third day pitch. There's quite a lot of cracks there. But I thought Zach Crawley, I thought Ollie Pope, going for booming drives. And this innings, Crawley was a little bit more controlled, but he still went for some big drives off Starks of angling it across him like this, and he was caught and bowled. He trying to hit one on the up. So was Ollie Pope, caught and bowled, trying to hit one on the up. I mean, those are bad shots on a slightly iffy third day pitch where the ball is holding in the surface, sometimes bouncing up, sometimes sort of nipping back. There was a couple of inside edges before that. In fact, Ollie Pope played 1 or 2 shots where one hand came off the bat as he was trying to drive the ball. Well, that didn't hint at any kind of permanence at all. I was disappointed in their approach.
Well, Ollie Pope's dismissal, I think, looked particularly disappointed because he got away with a couple, hadn't he? So the ball was there to drive on the up. He went for it. He hit one over cover. At least he got that one out roughly out the middle of the bat. Then he hit another one that went over the slip cord. And you think, that can you not? It's so obvious what Australia are trying to do. Actually, Michael Nisa, in his post-match interview with ABC Radio, he basically said as much. He said, if things are going a bit awry, we can go back to the plan of just like pitching it up a bit wide, just back, not too full, tempt them, and they'll go for it. And the plan is so obvious, and so I think the really frustrating thing is that people fall into it. I know it's easy to say, you've got to score. You can't just not score, but it's about picking the ball. It's about waiting. Sometimes it's about waiting for the bowler to come to you. And that's what Joe Root, generally speaking, does pretty well, doesn't he? His shot wasn't a particularly good one today. I don't know whether that was tiredness or whatever, mental, physical tiredness, whatever.
And it's the relentless of the bowling, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, and they did bowl well in that evening session, I think, Australia. They really got their act together. They talked about, they didn't bowl well before the second break at all. They kind of went searching, but then they got it together. They bowled really well collectively. People have been a bit disparaging about this attack. It's kind of like a B team attack, but it's still Boland bowled well, and Nisha's he's an experienced cricketer, and Doggett runs in as well. It's not the most threatening attack.
Well, not on paper, but it is on a cracked pitch.
Yeah, exactly, and because they put it in the right place and they bowl with discipline, and that's what they did. And they've always got that option of just tempting you a bit, and Ollie Pope was tempted, and he missed cue, and Zach Crawley the same. Both caught and bowled. I think there were some good balls there. When Duckett got that was a difficult ball to play. I thought Harry Rutsch's ball got a really good ball. One just nipped back in, and then one just went away a fraction. He's playing defence. That can happen. These things happen. A bowler is allowed to bowl a good ball. I think the thing for England is that so many of their wickets just seem that. Not tossed away. That's not. That'd be too glib to say that, but they're too easy.
Given away too casually.
Yeah, they're too easy to get out, I think, and that's it.
Yeah. So our bet for exchange today actually is debating whether England should try and apply a different sort of method, because it was it was interesting listening to the batting coach Marcus Trescothick, who
assistant coach
coming in as you do on a bad day. You get the coach rather than a player, don't you? And
I also sorry for a coach in that situation, really. He's not the main man. He's not Brendan McCullum. We used to call this a Duncan day when Duncan Fletcher was England coach, but he was the main man. He set the tactics, isn't he? He's the man responsible, if you like. He's like the football manager or whatever. As Marcus is that rung below.
Yeah, and Trez is a great man, and he tries to be honest, and he tries to offer some interesting angles on things. But he did say, look, we haven't had a chat about how we play. We just leave it to the players to play their way. We encourage them to play their way. Their way, he said, works a lot of the time. Well, it doesn't, does it? It works occasionally, and it's worked brilliantly on occasion. But often, it seems to just be too simplistic and too... there's no nuance to it. It's not smart, is it? It's not... it's kind of giving you, as you say, just a bit casually. And why don't you just apply yourself? Why didn't they tonight? Why don't they just get stuck in and just stay in and make the bowlers work for the wickets, and wait for the ball to get a bit softer, wait for the morning or afternoon when it's sunny and light again, rather than under lights where you're trying to play shots against the pink ball moving around a little bit off the surface and under the floodlights. It's just I don't think it's good enough to just say to players, play your way. There has to be a collective agreement that in certain situations you've got to adapt, and they don't.
So they should have gone for the big block tonight, do you think?
Well, I think they should have been a bit more circumspect. And I don't think they'll, this is a kind of great cultural thing they have now in the team, isn't it? That no blame attached to players. If they're playing their game and they get out, then, too bad. We picked you to play that way. Or surely, at times, they should adapt and change to suit the conditions and the situation.
They lost the first two test matches of the last Ashes series, didn't they? beaten at Lords after they'd been
Edgbaston.
beaten at Edgbaston in the first game. They came back and they actually weren't that far away from winning that series. The rain at Old Trafford scuppered their chances in the fourth test after they won at Headingley, and then they went on to win at the Oval. I mean, the thing is, you don't know how the Oval would have turned out if England won at Old Trafford. It might have been just felt completely different. So you can't just, it's not too simplistic to say they would have won the series if it hadn't rained at Old Trafford, but they would have had a decent chance. So they have the memory of that happening. This just feels so different though, doesn't it? It feels very different from the defeats at Lords and Edgbaston. In fact, because the other thing as well, those two defeats, one was 2 wickets and the other one was about 40 runs, wasn't it, at Lords. I say this is a defeat. I mean, it's almost inevitably going to be a defeat. I can't see any way out.
You don't think Stokes is going to play a Botham-esque innings then?
Well, at the moment, he looks like a batter. I thought he bowled well today. He gave it everything. But he looks like a batter who's kind of like right at the limit of his struggle. You know, he's working so hard, isn't he, to sort of come to terms with his batting game and find some form.
Compensate for some of the other casual wickets thrown away, actually. I mean, it must frustrate him underneath to see a player like Harry Brook, who is so naturally talented and who doesn't really apply his talent enough.
Well, first innings, but second innings, I thought.
Sure. Second innings, he got a good ball, or a couple of good balls.
And
I'm not blaming him for that, but I am blaming him for him in the first innings.
I mean, what's so perverse about this, of course, is that in the second innings, he's out playing a defensive shot. So he's walking off thinking, I should have tried to hit that. I should have tried to whack it over extra cover.
Should have tried to ramp it.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Look, good balls are going to get you out, and that's fair enough, isn't it? If someone bowls you a really good ball, and I think he got a good ball, then that's fair enough. But it's the ease with which you allow the opposition to dictate. I think that is the frustration.
Yeah, but you see, Brooke would say, "Well, I'm trying to not allow them to dictate to me by being aggressive."
When I say dictate, I mean allow their plans to work, which is what Michael Neeson was saying. Well, if you just put it up there and tempt them, they'll nick off.
If you think about it, look how hard it was for England to take wickets today against the lower order. Once the new ball had lost its hardness and it was a lovely bright sunny day and the batters got in a bit, it was hard to shift even a number 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Actually, Wilf Jacks bowled some of the best deliveries. He got the ball to spin quite a bit, didn't he? But by then they were so settled and the ball was soft as well.
And they were batting at the right time of the day as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's all gone horribly wrong for England because they, not least because they batted at completely the wrong times of day. But maybe you overthink that. Maybe there's too much thought into how do we need to play. Just play, see the ball, play the ball, and forget about the daylight or the night time.
Yeah. Well, look, there were a couple of poor dismissals. Now, you'd probably say there are always going to be some poor dismissals. So you need batsman error as well as good bowling, and there was some good bowling. Australia applied the pressure, and they had that scoreboard pressure. You know what it's like in cricket matches. We've seen it so many times in the past. If you're ahead in the game, the way Australia were, then it's so difficult for the batting side. Every error is magnified. Things seem to go the bowling side way. I suppose one team who did reverse that were India at Old Trafford. Remember, they had to bat 5 sessions. Yeah. They were 0 for 2, and they were 300 behind or whatever it was, and they were able to battle away and survive. So there are templates for doing that. But generally speaking, most cricket matches in this situation go the way of the team that are on top, and they can apply that sort of pressure, and that's what's going to happen here in this game. The miracle of Brisbane. It doesn't have such a ring to it as, I don't know, but it's incredibly unlikely as well. The outcome of this game, to me, has felt inevitable since Australia made 130 for 1 or 21 overs. That was ominous for England. They thought they had a decent score, 334. As soon as Australia made that sort of start, 131 or 21, I think the doubts must have started to creep in a bit. You can drag yourself back into the game. I think you've got to admire the way Australia played in this match.
No, you do.
You really have. They are making the most of their parts, their different parts, which look a bit odd. We said how odd their team looks.
This is not the strongest Australian team that you can put out by any means, but the substitutes have made their presence felt in impressive ways.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, they have got some champion cricketers, haven't they? You know, Smith has made runs, Labuschagne has made runs, Stark has taken wickets.
Carey. What about Carey? Yeah. I mean, I'm very understated. Got 50 today, played well, brilliant keeper, absolutely flawless behind the stumps. I mean, an unsung hero. Yeah. And an understated hero.
Yeah, and some other players have stood up as well. You know, the lower order with the bat. Yeah, Boland with the bat, Boland with the ball.
Yeah.
Admirable cricketer. You know, good under lights. Nice has picked up a couple of weeks, and Weatherall as well. You know, runs, those vital runs.
Yeah.
You know, don't underestimate the innings that he played in this Test match. So, you know, fair play to Australia. You have to be damn good to come here and win, and England just haven't been good enough so far. It's kind of like a perfect storm. Banksy pitched Perth, pink ball suddenly, and then the next Test match is in Adelaide, where, you know, the conditions are kind of a bit more benign, but then Australia probably win the toss and make huge runs in their first innings on a flat pitch.
Don't be depressing. Look, anyway, we'll leave you tonight with the thought that Stokes is still in. You never know. And you can watch play starting at 4 a.m. on TNT Sports.